I'm way past my bedtime. I'm sorry to say, but I am. So I can't remember how we decided this was going to go from this point on. So go ahead, Noel.
I think what I really need is a large print edition of my own. Some of the lines I have to admit I've been making up. I just can't make heads or tails of it. So anyway, pardon me if I'm going to do several that have more of a nature-oriented theme. I'm going to do several that have more of a nature-oriented theme for this last half. The first is called Transmigration.
If you really like that.
To the jay, it must have seemed as though a thunderbolt had struck it from its perch. It lay in the snow beneath the feeder, stunned, after the other birds dispersed. So many eyes, yet none had seen the dark comet coming through the balsams. The chosen one resisted briefly as the sharp-shinned talons probed its breast and throat. Then it relaxed, its black eyes focused on the distance like a martyr or jihadist contemplating paradise. It hardly felt the beak that rummaged through its down and ripped its belly open. Shifting its grip, a hawk hauled out a smoking viscera, tugging as a robin tugs at earthworms. It dipped repeatedly for heat, for meat, for fluid in a frozen world. Bit by bit, one life became another. What lifted off and flew away was neither hawk nor jay, but both, a mythic bird. A plaque of feathers marks the place of rapture, sky blue with dabs of black and white. This one, you have another ATIN. It's called Sublimation, and it has an epigraph from John Muir, which reads as follows. We travel the Milky Way together, trees and men. The orange air star flame inside my wood stove paints the window black. When the stove gets hot enough to sear the contour lines from fingertips, that soot will turn to spirit, ghost of red oak, and fly up the chimney. 2 years split and stacked, the woods well seasoned, full of all it drank from soil and air. Carbon from the bygone season's leaves and acorns, carbon from the power plant upwind, where black rocks burn to light my house. The glass begins to clear. I picture the big white pine that looms above my chimney, leaning in as though to warm its boughs, inhaling CO2. That pine has saved up several tons of carbon. I'm good for 30 pounds in flesh and bone. It's ours to keep, man and tree, till fire turns us both to ghosts. Another bird poem, this one entitled Animal Faith. The phrase makes sense once you've heard the poem, but it's also a phrase taken from the philosopher Milton J, to describe instinctual faith as opposed to faith that comes through persuasion and through theological conviction. So, animal faith. If God is a merganser, and who's to say he isn't? Our nesting pair may get a break this year. Last spring, they discovered the big birch a storm decapitated long ago, leaving the white colony of its trunk to weather like the last glass pillar of a Roman temple. Rain and snow, freeze and thaw, mold and rot, scooped out a nest-sized hollow at the top. The birds trimmed it out with feathers, laid a clutch of eggs, and settled in to wait. Their holidays were few and much the same, a giddy glide from nest to lake, landing with the kind of splash you have to pay for at a water park. The trick was how to come and go without disclosing an address. Nature loves guile as much as patience. They seemed to have the knack. An eagle hunted daily from a dead snag at their doorstep, unsuspecting. Then, one day, the snag was full of crows converging like gangsters on a bank. That's how we knew the eggs had hatched, that crows are smarter than eagles and mergansers. Will the mob show up again this year, shrugging their thuggish shoulders on a snag? Our ducks take turns on the water slide. They skim the lake for minnows and insects. They are devious and patient, confiding in providence we find inscrutable. We trust in our God too, our money says so, but we have our reservations. Come hatching time, we'll find which species got it right. And finally, the last poem in the book is sort of a encore. It has an epigraph from Theodore Roszak, better known for his book, The Making of the Counterculture, but this is from a different book. And it reads as follows. There is nothing to do, nowhere to get. We need only stand still in the light, which is quite a phrase. Title of the poem is 46 Degrees North. On those autumn days when there is nothing to do, after the firewood is stacked and the garden is put to bed, we do nothing except bear witness to the spectacle. The sumac catches fire first, its red igniting the maples red and yellow, the aspens shaping gold. On those winter days when there is nowhere to get, when the sun's low arc barely clears the treetops, or the air is busy with snow, we get nowhere, content to watch the hemlocks blur in the noonday dusk, to wonder how our fire finds another day's warmth and light in slabs of beech and oak. On those endless days in spring and summer, when twilight lingers like the final bugle note of taps, we keep vigil on a bench beside the lake. Our garden is planted, the supper dishes put away. There is nothing to do, nowhere to get. So we sit perfectly still, observing how the birches catch light from the water, how their leaves become words, how the words become poems.